Hello.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Doing okay, Coach. So we start the podcast by asking every coach this. So if we took you out on the golf course, what would you shoot?
Oh, I am a 80 to 85 golfer every day of the week. I could take 2 years off and I'll still shoot between 80 and 85.
Okay, that's actually pretty impressive. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think it's you and Coach Amos right up there at the top so far.
Now, early in the season, I was low 70s, but not right now. I mean, I played golf in high school, so.
Okay, lights out, lights out. So, actually, to hop into your high school years, so you played several sports, ended up pursuing soccer in college. So, what sports did you play in high school?
Yeah, so I was a four-sport athlete at Brownsburg High School. It's 1,600 students. I played soccer, basketball, and then I ran track and played golf simultaneously. So I did all four. Soccer was huge in my town, and that's what I was most talented at. I was the biggest, fastest kid on the team. Being 6'2" for a soccer player is pretty big. So that was my natural talent was in soccer for sure.
Okay, so you ended up doing that in college. So while you playing soccer, did you had the love for basketball and you wanted to coach? Did you know you wanted to coach at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I always went to college under the assumption that I was going to coach basketball. I mean, that was my passion. What was interesting, I felt like basketball coaches had a little bit more of an influence on the game than a soccer coach did in terms of calling timeouts and making adjustments, whereas a soccer coach is kind of an innocent bystander by the time the game starts. But what's funny is, now that I'm a basketball coach, ultimately my goal is to try to get to a point where I don't have to do a lot of coaching on the sidelines and let you guys make decisions on your own. I know, Cole, you could probably attest for this. We had several times this year where there were times when you guys coached yourselves on the floor, and that was exciting for me. So I've kind of gone full circle in that. But basketball, being from Indiana, I mean, basketball was always my passion. I was just soccer just came more naturally to me.
Okay. So you're from Indiana, which is known for its basketball throughout the nation. So it's always been part of your family and it's been in your blood forever?
Yeah, I mean, my hometown, actually, soccer was kind of a huge deal. But, I mean, growing up in Indiana, I was pretty much raised by Bobby Knight and Gene Cady. I mean, those were the legends of that time. And the high school coach that I grew up kind of idolizing as well was cut from the same cloth as Bobby Knight. I mean, he was very tough on us. I mean, I remember getting chewed out as like a third grader at a summer camp by this guy. So grew up idolizing Bobby Knight. Grew up, I know every word to the movie Hoosiers. I mean, it's definitely ingrained in kids in Indiana to love basketball for sure.
Definitely. There's a lot of kids that can play that come from Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell listeners how you got to Louisville from Indiana and a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too much time. It's somewhat of a long story, but I ended up playing soccer at Hanover College and met my wife there. She was running cross country, and she was the first person I met on campus during the fall sports sign-in. So we met each other in line for that, and the rest is history there. And she's from Louisville. She went to Mercy. And so she dragged me down to Louisville. And we've raised a family here. I'm a JCPS teacher, so I started out teaching and coaching at Iroquois High School. And Mike Stinnett was nice enough to give me an opportunity to get my foot in the door as a freshman coach at Iroquois. I spent 1 year at Iroquois and then transferred to Butler High School, where I've been now for 10 or 11 years, probably 12 years now, and was an assistant coach at Butler throughout that time. We went to the state tournament in 2009, 2010 under Coach Sean Purley. And then had a couple other coaches, Coach Gibson, Rick Gibson, and then Casey Gooden was the last coach I worked for as an assistant before getting hired at Louisville Collegiate. So I've been lucky enough to coach under four coaches that were all very different, which allowed me to learn a lot of different things from each one of them. And each one of them gave me that opportunity. And that's, as a coach, as an aspiring coach, just getting an opportunity is huge, and I hope to pay that forward because all four of those guys put some trust in me and believed in my ability to help the program. So I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the four coaches that gave me that chance.
Right. Throughout your coaching career, I think you spent 10 years at Butler as an assistant, correct?
That sounds about right. Those years start adding up, and you start losing track. That sounds right.
So, from being at Butler, what are your most memorable moments from being an assistant coach there?
Yeah, I mean, we went to the state tournament. Actually, the first year I was there, so that was obviously very memorable. We had some teams that got invited to the KOB, and we had a lot of success. And then that was all with with Sean Purley. We had some really talented teams, and then with KC Gooden, we had a group that went. I think it was 30-2. This was been maybe 4 years ago. We went 30-2, and we went to the semifinals in the LIT, and that was a fun group to coach as well. It's funny because now I'm getting to the age where I'm looking on Twitter and Facebook, and I've got guys that are posting pictures of their babies and sending messages out about how their baby pooped all over themselves, and it's just funny to think that I had a small part in their lives, and to look at where they've become now. I mean, that's really the biggest thing, man. Is still being a part of their lives and still getting to follow what they're doing. It's definitely been rewarding for me to see those messages and stay in touch.
Definitely, that's a big part about it. Just being able to say that you're a part of someone's upbringing and made them the man who they are now.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to take too much credit because most of those guys did it all. Were set in their ways by their parents and their families. So I don't like to take too much credit in it, but I feel just blessed to have been a part of it and to still have those guys, in my network of people for sure.
Definitely. In 2018, you were named the head coach of Louisville Collegiate School. So when you got the job, what were you most looking forward to?
I mean, I'd been an assistant for so long. I was just looking forward to use some of my own ideas, take all these things I learned from all these coaches and try to mesh them together along with my own personality. I mentioned the movie Hoosiers. I mean, the idea of taking on a program that's small, like collegiate, and trying to take that program to the next steps. I mean, I was lucky enough to inherit a program that was already on the rise, and trying to continue moving forward with that. And I grew up with Hoosiers, so that the small school underdog story is something that I always dreamed about and was always kind of raised on. So I was excited to take on that challenge. Yeah,
I mean, you've definitely done a great job so far. And
is this because you want some playing time next year, Cole?
No. So bringing in on it being a smaller school because collegiate's less than 200 kids, and at the high school, what's it like competing a part of the All-A and just being a part of the small school system?
It's definitely nothing like the big schools. It's hard to explain or describe. It's a very different environment. Not that it's a negative environment. It's just different. You get an opportunity to get really close with your guys, and it's just. I think what collegiate does in terms of giving everybody an opportunity to show what they're worth and to fill a role in ways that they might not be able to at the big schools. I don't know. I just think very highly of the collegiate program. I think highly of the collegiate, administration, and their willingness to support athletics. And, I think we've created a foundation that's got a lot of potential for growth.
Definitely. So what's been the biggest challenges and changes from going from a freshman coach to a varsity assistant coach to a now varsity head coach?
Well, any varsity coach will say the same thing, that no one has any idea how much work is done behind the scenes. in terms of scheduling, contacting parents, coordinating practices. It is absolutely a never-ending job. I mean, we've been on quarantine now for, 2 months, and there is not a day that goes by that I don't think about, work on, prepare for our basketball program. And I know there's a lot of assistants out there, like when I was an assistant, that are probably out there still grinding, still working to make their programs better. But there's probably some assistants out there that are just waiting to hear, what are the next steps, head coach, and the head coach just takes on a lot of responsibilities. And you don't know it till you're involved in it. For me personally, I love to keep my mind fresh. I love to keep the challenges coming. So it's definitely, for me, it's healthy for me to have all those challenges. So, there's just way more to it than just motivating teenagers to play basketball. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, but man, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm sure it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, doing podcasts on 2 o'clock on a Friday, stuff like that.
So your first season at collegiate, we went 13-14, but your second year we just went 20-7. What made us give that big jump?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime a coach comes in, there's a new personality. Coach Septembre would agree. He and I are very different, and so that adjustment period to a new coach and a new culture and new expectations, I think there's a learning curve there. And I think that first season was just me getting used to our guys and our guys getting used to me, and developing the culture that I wanted. And then, moving into this most recent year, we definitely made some huge strides in our team culture. We found ways to win close games. We found ways to come back from big deficits. And our guys, have gained some experience. We were pretty young my first year. We got everybody back the second year, so just that experience helped as well. It's just, I've got to give a lot of credit to you guys, to our team, for the amount of growth that they had. I mean, that was essentially what did it. I'm a piece of the puzzle, but ultimately it's your players that grow and get better and motivate each other. And I felt like this past year we took some huge strides in our culture and in our development. And what's exciting is we've still got a lot of guys coming back next year. And I think we're just going to continue to move forward in the way that I like us to play, and I think the way that you guys as a team like to play as well.
Yep, for sure. And just to brag about the program some, who were some big wins and some big comebacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know the exact numbers, but we have, and Cole, you might be able to answer this, but I think we have 200 kids in the high school, maybe. and to go up against teams that have 1,600, 1,800 kids in the program is actually pretty remarkable how well we did. I mean, I think, we beat Clinton County coming back from down 10 with 50 seconds to go, I think, or down 8 with 50 seconds to go. That was a big one for us. We beat Fairdale. That was kind of the big climax of the season. We beat Fairdale on senior night, and I think we were down 11 with 1:10 to go. So those two stand out. But we also beat Owensboro Catholic, who made it out of their region and were set to play in the Sweet 16 before the quarantine started. We beat Owensboro Catholic, who was a Sweet 16 team. I don't know, Cole, who else did we beat? We beat a lot of really solid teams, a lot of big schools.
Yeah, Iroquois.
Yeah, we beat we started. What did we start off? 11-1. We beat Anderson County, who was undefeated at the time. We beat Iroquois. We beat Western. When I set that schedule, the ultimate goal. I hesitate to say goals, but we had in mind trying to get into the LIT. And in order to do that, we had to play some tough competition right off the bat. And I think we went 11-1 to start the season. We beat Anderson County, that was undefeated. We beat Iroquois. Clinton County was a big one. Owensboro Catholic, obviously. And then for us to be able to get into the LIT for a school that was our size was huge. It was a big deal. I think it was a big deal for you guys, at least.
It definitely was. I mean, I think it was the second time in school history that we made it.
Yeah, and it was an exciting time. I think we were a little bit shell-shocked when we walked into that gym. But what's interesting is, for me, coming from Butler, the LIT was just something we were always in. And I knew what that environment was like. I knew how much fun that was to be a part of that tournament. And my biggest thing was trying to get our team to experience that. And the hope was, you get to drive all the way out to Valley, and you get to be in this big gym, and you've got, it just feels different. You got to come in a special doorway, and you got to go to a special locker room, and some of those big schools take all that for granted, but for us, that was a new experience for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I know our blood was flowing, and we were all feeling good, but
we were a little tight. That's okay.
So you brought in a little bit about how we have a lot of guys returning next year. So what are you expecting from the squad, and what are your kind of goals for the season?
Sure. Well, we were. What's exciting is at Butler, my father-in-law, which also happens to be my assistant coach, Coach Nash. We used to call Butler High School guard U. Like all we had was guards at Butler. And in these past 2 years, we had obviously Chessman Moore and Joey Leachman, who provided some size for us down low, and definitely erased some of our mistakes just with their size alone. But I'm definitely more comfortable in dealing with a smaller sized team. So this upcoming year, more than likely, is going to be a very different look for our team. I mean, we're going to have a lot of the same principles and obviously have the same culture. Or improve on our culture, continue to improve on that. But we're definitely have to play a different style. I mean, we were going into the district, we were top 10 in the state in defense, and that was not a result of the pace of play. I mean, we just really locked down defensively in points per game. But we're gonna have to pick the tempo up and try to create some more steals, some more turnovers, things of that nature, to make up for our lack of size. But our schedule is no different than it was last year. I mean, I still think that the LIT is a reasonable goal. I think, making it to the All-A state tournament is a reasonable goal. We still have a lot of experience coming back, which is exciting. So, looking forward, I think the style of play might change slightly. Like I said, I coached under 4 different coaches with 4 very different styles. And so I'll definitely be reaching back into the bag of tricks on some of the things that we did in the past at Butler for sure.
Great. And just to talk, I know you talked about Coach Nash a little bit. So who are your other assistants that people need to know about, and what do they do for you, and how good are they?
Yeah, I mean, I try to form a staff that that fills in where I've got weaknesses, because obviously I'm not a perfect coach, and any coach that tells you they're perfect obviously is not. So, Coach Nash, Cole, he's a great leader, a very positive influence. Happens to be my father-in-law, one of my best friends. And I think he brings to the table a lot in terms of our culture for sure. And then Coach Byrne and I, we worked together at Butler for years. He's a go-to guy for X's and O's, and is definitely game day. Game day helps with managing what's going on during the games, pre-game, post-game. And then we brought along Coach Brooks last year, who helped us with the JV team. And he was a first-year coach at the high school level, and I think it was an eye-opening experience for us. But he's really bought into, he figured it out. He figured out what does it mean to be an assistant coach, and is now really diving into helping with player development. And I think he's going to be a great asset for us in developing our guys in terms of their shot and individual skills and things of that nature. So we have a really solid staff. It's a very positive staff. I wouldn't want it any other way. That's a big thing for me. We try to hold our kids and our coaches accountable to stay positive, to shout praise and whisper criticism. And that's the environment that kids can learn in, and that's the environment that we want to create. So that's a big focus for me, and a big focus for assistant coaches.
Definitely. And of course I'm biased, so of course I think we have one of the best coaching staffs in the state. But best head coach and assistant coaches around. So of course I'm biased, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, Cole. I
welcome.
appreciate that a lot.
Well, Coach, that's all I really had for you. But if you want, you can tell the ads that they can get you at on Twitter and the school page and all your information.
Yeah. Anything I can do to get the collegiate name out there. Academically, it's a great school, and I think we're just an extension of what the school is. We want guys to really take accountability for their own learning, and we try our best to encourage vulnerability in learning. And mistakes are just ways to get better. So I think students looking for a school to attend. Collegiate. There's a reason that Collegiate is what it is. It's one of the best private schools in the nation. And Cole, I'm sure you could attest. It's a special place that people don't know people know very little about.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you joining me. I'm glad you got it on the podcast, and we'll talk soon.
Man, this is a really impressive and inspiring thing that you and Noah are putting on, and I can't say enough about your all's work ethic. So I appreciate it. Happy to do it, and I look forward to having my daughters listen to this podcast because they're going to be really excited about it.
Awesome! I can't wait. Can't wait to hear the response.
Cole.
All right, have a good one.
All right, you too. Hello.
Hey, Coach Byrne, what's up?
What's going on, bud?
Nothing much. How are you?
Trying to get this golf game in order,
Always. All right, well, let's go ahead and just get on into it then.
All
right, so we start every podcast by asking this question. So if we took you out on the golf course today, what would you probably shoot?
No, today, I don't know. Like I said, in the last month or so, I've been struggling with some things, but I would say normally between 70 and 75.
Well, out of everyone we've had on here, you're definitely in first. I know Coach Hornstein said today he was 80 to 85.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
So to all the listeners out there, tell them sort of who you are and your story and where you've coached at.
Well, I got into coaching as pretty young. Started at Butler. My mentor, the first guy that I coached with, I was actually his senior aide in high school. And I didn't play. I played basketball my freshman year in high school, and then I was mainly baseball and football. And so we would talk every day my senior year, because I had him like 3 hours out of the day. And one day he asked me if I would ever be interested in getting into coaching. And at that time, of course, it was a 17, 18-year-old kid, and I thought my next steps were the major leagues. And I was like, well, I'll think about it. And lo and behold, I went and played one semester of college baseball. Kept getting injured, back issue. I know it's a shocker to you with my back. And then I came back to him. I was 20 years old. My best friend now, who I knew then, he's 5 years older than me, had just agreed to be the freshman coach, his first year in coaching. So I came on and was just kind of an observer the first year and just kind of stood back and watched how Coach Campbell's Mike Campbell, how Coach Campbell did it. And I guess, as you can say, the rest is history. So as time went on, we would do, me and my best friend, Sean Purley, we would do the summer ball, which was nothing like it is now. We'd play a few games, do a few practices, and then we would do team camp. That was pretty much it back then. You're talking early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And it was just me and him, two young kids. I think I was 21, he was 25, and not really a clue what we were doing, but by golly, we were doing it, and we were talking to anybody and everybody about how do we get better at this, and what do you all do? And that's just kind of how everything started with coaching.
Okay.
Basketball, that is.
So why did you get into coaching? Like, what made you want to coach basketball?
Be totally honest, when the one semester that I played baseball in college, it wasn't where I wanted to go. It wasn't a school that actually was recruiting me in either sport my senior year in high school. And, for different reasons, I chose to go here, and I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't, I had this envision of when I was in high school that everybody had the same goal in mind of competing. And when I got there onto this team, and it just wasn't, it wasn't it. And then add in the injuries. I wanted to get as far away from baseball as possible. And I thought, what other thing is there to do than coach basketball? so that was kind of, I just wanted to get my mind away from, I wanted to stay relatively competitive, but I wanted to get my mind away from, I guess, basically making a bad decision in my college choice.
Okay. So while growing up, who would you say were your idols, like your coaching idols?
I guess I really didn't, growing up, I didn't really look at coaches. I more so looked at players. I think the thing is when you're younger, and I was always grateful enough to be one of the better players, no matter what sport, no matter what team. So coaching, I didn't really look at coaches. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't listen to them, but you were always supposed to listen to your coaches back then. And you just kind of, every coach that you had to hold the same respect for. But then definitely when I stopped playing and then when I started coaching, I looked at, obviously, Coach Campbell. I hung on his every word for years. And then around town, when I was young and coaching, Coach Mabry, even though at the time Butler and PRP's staff didn't really get along. Of course, you look at him just as, the success that he had. And then Coach Stan, Coach Harden at Fairdale. He's been he's basketball Hall of Fame. And actually, when we were very, very young coaching, he wasn't coaching high school anymore. He'd coached in college for a little bit, and he had come back, and then he had befriended me and Coach Purley, and he's been a great friend ever since. I mean, I've seen at golf courses, and of course he's still around Fairdale all the time. So, and he was at our All-A state game this year, his first one that I saw. Always has good things to say and ask questions about what we're doing, how we're doing this. And so this is kind of those, I guess, coaching icons in this area from back in the 80s and 90s.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So I know you spent some time at Butler. So what were your most memorable moments while being there?
The most memorable moment or season was actually this was my second year in coaching, but it was my first year of actually being a little bit more active member of the coaching staff. We were number one in the state all year. We lost 3 games. We won King of the Bluegrass, LIT. We came in second, and at the time, which was the biggest national tournament in the country, down in Florida, is Ocala. It was called Kingdom of the Sun. And we came in second in that tournament, lost, I can't remember, it was a few points in championship game. And the most memorable thing about that was that tournament run, because we didn't start anybody over 6'2", and our leading scorer was a power forward that was 5'11". So we might have, it might look very familiar to what we're going to do next year, Cole. And we played nothing but teams from around the country that had front lines of, 6'9", 6'10", 6'8", just D1 talent all up and down the board. Played one team from California that had a kid that played in the NBA for 10, 15 years, got drafted right out of high school. And just going on that run and almost winning that tournament with a bunch of short, skinny kids, from Louisville, Kentucky, was just it's a time that I'll never forget. Winning the King of the Bluegrass, I believe we still hold the record for largest winning margin, which was about 28 points. We beat the eventual state champion that year, Scott County, by 30-something in the King of the Bluegrass. And then just, just tough. We had to play PRP, I think, for the 3rd or 4th time that year. And we didn't play our best game, and we lost in the regional championship game. So we never got to – that would have been a state championship team. We got past that game. We were the best team in the state by far, but we just weren't the best that night. But that was by far most memorable time in coaching at all. And I had a front row seat. I didn't offer up much advice. Coach Campbell had the thing under control for the most part. We were just sitting there, keeping our stats, and basically front row seat as good cheerleaders for a dominant team.
That's definitely a great story. So in 2018, Coach Hornstein got the job at Collegiate and then offered you the assistant job. So what made you want to take that?
Well, when I left Butler in, I think it was 2015, one of our other buddies who was the head coach for 2 years, stepped down, resigned due to, having young kids and wanting to spend more time with family. So me and Coach Hornstein both put in for the Butler job, the head coaching job, and we talked for a while, for a year, 2 years, about, because we knew that was coming down the road with him resigning, or the other coach resigning. And we said, well, whoever gets it, we feel like we'd have a good chance, one of us, get the head coaching job. We really would want to coach together, because coach, obviously he's one of my best friends, but coaching-wise, we balance each other out so well, and we've always coached well together, and we'd always talked. I mean, even and then of course neither one of us got that job, so he stayed on because he was, he's still teaching at Butler, and I stepped away from the game for a couple of years, and we still talked. Both of us put in for a couple jobs around town and outside in other counties, and still just kind of had that agreement, like, well, if I or if he gets head coaching job, you're the first one that I'm calling, because we want to see if, how we can work this out, because we talked about it for so many years. So when he got it, I just had to make sure that I could make time available, and of course I did, and the rest is history. We're still making it.
Definitely. No, I'm glad you took the position.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, this past season we were 20-7. What made our team so successful?
think on both parts. I think coaching wise and player wise, everybody was more comfortable with each other this year. I looked at you. Me and Coach Hornstein talked about it a lot. Our first year there, and knowing the history of collegiate, or the recent history of collegiate, is we didn't really feel like you all, at the end of the year when we reflected, we didn't feel like you all fully trusted us because y'all have had so many coaches come and go. They come in for 1 year and then they leave, on to other jobs or for whatever reason. It was just a revolving door in that head coaching spot and the coaching staff. And we felt like in the back of your all's mind, maybe you all thought, well, these guys, they're going to come in, do what everybody else has done, stay here 1 year and then go somewhere else. And then I think it turned last summer when you all saw that, and all the players saw that we were coming back for another year. And I think everybody was like, oh, okay, well, these guys are in it for us, not just in it just to be coaching. So I think that's definitely what helped, our success this year, a lot of it. And I think also adding 2 other active, respectable adults onto the coaching staff. We've talked about it too. Having 2 people, just 2 people to coach a high school program is virtually impossible. There's a ton of things to do, and when you're around somebody every single day and it's just 2 of you, you're going to have stresses and everything else, and it just, we got tired. We'll admit we got really tired mentally and physically with just the 2 of us the first year, and then adding Coach Nash and Coach Brooks last year just helped relieve some stress. There were 4 more eyes, 2 more minds that could, no matter how much experience they had or didn't have, they could offer a different perspective, and it would open up other conversations. And I think that helped us out as a coaching staff and program all the way around.
100%. I think it 100% did.
And then everything else, you all too. You all bought in, and, you all deserve, all the credit in the world. And, there were games, obviously we didn't have much of a deep bench at times, so you all were playing a lot of minutes and wearing yourselves out. Joey coming on and Chez coming on, improving again, and Keith making a huge step forward as a relatively inexperienced basketball player, not just high school player, just inexperienced basketball player, and you and him seamlessly, for the most part, working out that lead guard position, going back and forth. Y'all were fun to coach and fun to watch most times. We won't talk about that last. We won't talk about that last game though.
So being at Butler and now spending 2 seasons at Collegiate, about to go into your 3rd, what is it like competing at like a Butler where the crowd's bigger, it's a public school, versus a Collegiate where it's a smaller crowd, all A school?
It's different. It's very different. And that's why we've tried to bump up the schedule for you guys. Play some bigger schools, play in their gyms, so that hopefully that you all could see, what it's like, or what it was like at Butler, or even any bigger school. We want you all to compete just as any other kid that we coached, whether it's in front of 200 people or 3,500 people, like we would get sometimes at the Butler PRP game at Valley. There's I don't know how the best way to put this. There's different stressors in both. Kids, when they're in front of 3,500 people, will just lose their mind, and you won't know how to get them back. And then when kids are playing in front of, say, 50 people on a Monday night 6:00 game, and it's basically you have 3 students over there just talking and texting in the bleachers, and then everybody's parents and maybe a few grandparents sprinkled in. The intensity's not there. There's no energy. So having to help you all create your own energy is a different concept than what we were used to. Playing in front of bigger crowds and bigger student sections. Luckily this past year, we had pretty good student following for the size of the school, which helped. And, honestly, when you're in a gym, a small gym like our gym, and it's full, even if it's 250 people versus a Fairdale PRP Butler male, St. X gym that's filled with, 1,800, 1,900 people, it's still, the noise is still the same. If everybody's into it, it's still the same.
Right.
You don't even, to be totally honest, you don't even notice it. When you do notice it is when, grandma over there can hear every word that coach is saying in the timeout. That's, that's a little bit different, but we had that you have that at bigger schools too. Trust me.
For sure. So, what are you looking forward to about the squad next year, and what are your expectations for the team?
The one thing that I look forward to, and with all the years that I was at Butler, and then leading into next year at Collegiate, is we're going to have to play a little bit differently, and I think that's what has let success follow me and Coach Hornstein and our friends, Coach Gibson and Coach Purley at Butler, is almost each year we had to find a different way to play, because we've never been, I'll be honest, Ches is the tallest player I've ever coached. And so when you're going against playing high school basketball and you mainly have kids that are, under 6'2", some years really quick, some years you can shoot. You got to find, some years you're good defensively, some years you're not. So you really got to, each year you have to tackle as an individual thing of how are we going to, not to sound like Coach Calipari, but how are we going to play this year? Got to figure that out. What's our strengths? What can we use? Excuse me. How can we use that to our advantage? And next year's going to be a lot like that. We're talking about a bunch of different things, and I'm excited because it's something different. And throughout the years, I've got some good friends in coaching that are still coaching, and we talk about, and they've coached really good teams that they struggled with us at Butler, and they've even, a couple of them, we've played at Collegiate the last couple of years, and they say, man, the hardest thing about going against you all and your staff and everything is we never know what you all are going to do. We know you all are going to be very well coached, but you all are able to do so many different things and play so many different ways. And that's what I like about it. Would it be fun to have 4 or 5 D1 prospects every year and just throw them out there and say run around and play above the rim? Yeah, I mean, it'd be successful, but I'll be honest, I'd much rather coach groups that you had to coach and get them to a successful point in multiple different ways, multiple different styles, and that's what I'm excited about next year. Expectations, I think we're going to be fun to watch. I really do. I mean, I don't see much drop off, as far as wins wise from last year. Maybe even win more games. I mean, and I think next year's team, we have a better chance of going further in the All-A Sweet 16, provided that all you clowns don't get the flu again. We go.
Well, we definitely hope so. We definitely hope we don't, and we want to make a run.
And we were up against it that week. There was not anything going in our favor that week.
No doubt. I think if we weren't sick, I know Joey was sick, I was sick, Keith was a little sick, Ches was, even Trevor.
Look, when you're a high school team going into a state tournament and you've got a 41-year-old and a 38-year-old coach having to jump in and practice for 2 hours because we don't have enough to go 5-on-5, that's pretty tough circumstances to happen.
You are not kidding. Well, Coach Byrne, that's all I had, all the questions I had for you, but I appreciate you getting on. If you want to plug your Twitter, any social medias, you want to plug real quick, you can.
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm not on Twitter much. I scroll through it, but I don't tweet too much. I'm not a great source unless you like random silly jokes or random videos of me on the driving range. But it's at Adam Byrne 5. Byrne is spelled Byrne. That is my only social media staple, I guess. But if you want to come see random stuff, that's fine.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you being on, and I look forward to getting in the gym next week.
All right. Sounds good, Cole. Good talking to you. I got to go get these putting yips fixed. So.
Yep. Get the game right, and we'll get on the course soon.
All right. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Kentuckiana Hoops podcast. This is Cole Thompson.
And I'm Noah Breitenstein. Make sure to check out our website at www.kentuckianahoops.net. This website features exclusive content found nowhere else, which includes boys and girls classes 2021 through 2024, player profiles, recruiting information, highlights, stats, watch lists, and much more. For only $10 a month for the year, you have access to exclusive content found only on our website. Just go to www.kentuckianahoops.net.
Also, follow us on Twitter at KYINHoops and Instagram at Kentuckiana Hoops. Thank you.